Well, what up, everybody? How you doing this Saturday afternoon? I am back, Jedi Granville. This is Jedi Granville Productions, and I know it's been a while. I know y'all miss me, and hey, what can I say? I mean, I miss me too if I've been away for so long. I mean, hey, well, let's be honest. This year, beginnings. Hey, we always have these beginnings, and it always will be beginnings. But hey, it doesn't mean it has to be forever, and it wasn't forever. And just in case you get a wanting to know what went down, it's pretty much self-explanatory. You pretty much know that I was without the power of Grayskull, so I couldn't do anything between then and now. But hey, I'm here now, and that's what's important. And hopefully, you are here to show. Hopefully, you're here to see and enjoy what I'm about to give you. Because this is another of one of my what you call personal junk of favorites routine that I like to talk about, which is a topic that I tend to fibble about in terms of my own personal, you know, something that I like in life. And well, as it turns out, I love explosions, movie explosions to be exact. And tell you the truth, movie explosions are just some of those things that just, I don't know. I just grew up with the fact that there's something minced about it. It's something powerful, maybe because it's blowing up shit real good or however it is. I can't really think of what it can be. I mean, there's just so many things, but all I know is that this is what I'm going to be talking about, and it's my top 10 of movie explosions, and this is part three of this. I did, and I gotta say, the first one I got surprised. I don't know why I got flagged for it. For some things I had to leave some things out. I'm like, why? But hey, but I think I know what it was. I think it was dealing with music. But hey, but anyway, aside from that, I'm back to doing something that I love doing, fun and exciting, and hopefully you'll be on this little ride and enjoy it for what it is. So, without further ado, let's get started with this. Okay. So, as I mentioned, this is going to be talking about explosions. And in case you didn't know, I actually got the back. It's shows you right there that I mean I just get giddy when explosions happen on screen and whatever. Not necessarily in real life. Real life is we know it's tragic, but with explosions in movies or television, they're supposed to be dramatic and give something that's supposed to affect the audience that's watching them. So with that, these like so many other explosions that I've seen in life, they had an effect on me. And some of these are, like I say, old as shoot, going back almost 50 years. Some of them are like maybe 20 some odd years, something like that. But the thing about it is they have an effect on me that I enjoy for it. And when I get to the one starting from number 10 to 1, I'll explain in kind of detail more than the last one what is the lead up to what you see, and then what's the outcome of how this was achieved, the explosion. So let's get started. And we're going to start with number 10 and make sure that I know which one is number 10 as far as number 10. Let me see here. Okay, that's what yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That's the one. No, that's not that the one. Okay, hold up. Let me see. Is that the one? Let me see. Just give me a second here. I'm trying to make sure that this is the right one, the left one, the black one, whatever. Anyway, um, let's start with number 10, which is trying to make sure that's the one. Not like Neo. In fact, let me make sure because if I put the wrong one in, it's gonna be like foolish on my part. Um, hold up a second here. Okay, yeah, yeah. I think that's the one. Yes. Okay, that's the one there. Okay, that's one. Make sure. Okay, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So what is that one? These are videos I'm going to show you, but I'm trying to figure out where is that. Hmm. Oh, okay. I know. No, let me see. Let me make sure. Maybe that's. Oh, okay, that's the one. Okay, that's what I was. Okay, okay. I know which one it is. Okay, okay. We're good. We're good. Okay. Get confused here. So let's get started with number 10 and moving ourselves up to number one here. And as I mentioned before, that's one thing about explosion, especially going back during the day, back in the 70s, 80s, even 90s. A lot of this stuff was done practically. Nowadays, it's more computer generated, but if it's done well, computer generated, it's okay. But you're using real fire, real stuff that's blowing up, and what's so forth. So I have to pick number 10 in terms of this one, which is from, make sure that is the one. And yeah, it is the one. This is from a film called Blown Away. And this is a film that stars Jeff Bridges and Tommy Lee Jones as um, Irish individuals who were pretty much explosive, explosive for a cause. And if you understand the cause between the Irish and the English, I think it's Irish and English. Yeah, Irish. You realize it's a melee, and honestly, it's not the same. It's no different from anyone who is, Asian or Hispanic or even African American or even black. Just say black. They use explosives to enforce their cause, which is sad because when you do that, that shows who your true nature is. And in this film, Jeff Bridges is a character who wanted to give up that life. He turned away, and someone got his former friend, which was Tommy Lee Jones, imprisoned. And Tommy Lee Jones seeks revenge. He seeks revenge on him slowly on Jeff Bridges' character. And what leads up to is this: that since Jeff Bridges is he's in the United States, he's in a Boston bomb squad, and he helps defuse bombs. He's trying to give up that life because it reminds him of the days where he used to blow up stuff for his cause, but he doesn't want that anymore. Well, Tommy Lee Jones, he's not the kind of just sit back and say, I'm going to do something that's going to make you realize why I'm doing this. So he on his mindset says, I'm going to make sure that you follow up and you see exactly what I'm capable of doing. So he kills some people in the midst of all this. But in the midst of all this, Jeff Bridges get the upper hand and find out that he knows where his hideout is, which is this dilapidated derelict of an old ship, which was a gambling ship. So in the time that he's been there, he set up multiple bombs in this particular hulk of a old ship. Jeff Bridges' character finds him. They have a conflict, and Tommy Lee Jones' character sets off the ignition to ignite it and everything. And forward on, he pretty much sets off the explosion, which pretty much devastates the whole boat. And this is the result of what I'm talking about. Yeah, that's if you want to be blown away, that was a big blown away moment right there. It's that was, like I say, this is a film that came out in '94, which surprisingly or not surprisingly, coincidentally maybe, another film that dealt with a mad bomber, which was Speed, which starred Dennis Hopper and Keanu Reeves. And I already put something on of the first one, but that got monetized. I didn't realize it was for the music, so that's what it was. But anyway, the simple fact is that that was done practically. That was a full size set of a ship that they built up in around where the story takes place, which is Boston. Built this big set, and I actually saw the behind the scenes of this, and trust me, it was, just as big as what you see on. I mean, you can't capture it like it is on the screen here because it's filmed in a 2.35 ratio. But when you see with a camera, where you got to pull back, it's like, dude, the explosion went way up in the air and everything. It was like big, 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 you know. So it's crazy, but hey, blown up shit real good, and that's what you want for a film like this. I mean, you want a climactic ending, although the fun thing is it takes out the villain, but surprisingly the villain still has an upper hand for something that goes along, which I'm not going to say because I mean, no spoilers, but something happens to another loved one and Jeopardy has to save this person, but I'm not going to mention what it is. You have to see it for yourselves. It's called Blown Away. And like I say, if you want to check it out, check it out. I mean, it's an okay film, but I feel like you have to really watch it for not for the explosions, but for the storyline of what it's talking about. So, but upward and onward, we go to number 9, and I'm gonna let's say not pick, but I'm gonna pull out and that sounded that I'm sorry. That was I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. That was bad. Okay. I'm going to put this as my number 9 in terms of what's happening here. Okay. This particular explosion involves a helicopter, and it comes from the film that I talked about a while back called Cradle to the Grave, which came out in 2003. And it stars Jet Li and the late rapper, actor who unfortunately, life caught up with him, DMX. And there's a moment here where um, Jet Li's character gets the upper hand on the guy that he's chasing, and he catches him in a helicopter that's taken off, but it turns it out of balance. Now, through this, um, certain characters like Anthony Anderson and Tom Arnold are in a tank, and they shoot this particular helicopter's tail off, which throws it off, and it crash lands. Well, here's the thing: you think that that's the helicopter that I'm talking about that's going to explode, which it kind of does a little bit, but not the one that I'm going to show you. It crashes and pretty much, you know, sets off like a ring of fire situation, which causes fuel to spill out of it, and it hits, which spills over another helicopter, and well, the result is this right here. Oh my god, dude! I mean, it's and the sad thing is, I didn't get to see this film in the theater, but hey, what you gonna do? But aside from that, that was that's it's a crazy way of how you blow up something. And the funny thing is, the helicopter that gets blown up is stationary. It doesn't. It's not in the air. Usually, you would see something like an aircraft, especially aircraft, in the air getting blown up. But this was stationary on the ground, getting blown up. And the way they did that was a mock-up version of that particular helicopter that took about, I think, about a few weeks or something like that, made out of fiberglass. I mean, it was, I think, steel hull. I mean, still that steel hull was steel frame and fiberglass around, whatever. And they blew it up. And the funny thing is that film was only shot in like maybe 3 months, because it was pretty much analog effects that they were doing. But the helicopter that crashes down and hits the ground, that gets shot down, was actually, believe it or not, was a RC model, shot down, and like I say, just comped in to where it crashes into the this pipe, this release water, but it causes this ring of fire and everything, and that's pretty much what it was. I mean, practical physical effects that sadly nowadays are not being done as much today. And trust me, we got a lot of films on here where it's pretty much done practically in terms of maybe full size or miniature. And we're going to get into some miniature ones in a minute. So, with that being said, let's talk about miniatures, because this one here is involved. It was a miniature effect, and it comes from a film called, and it's a funny thing. This is a film that's very rarely talked about, and it's sad that it doesn't get talked about as much. But then again, it's one of those films that I feel is very warranted in the sense of you know uh, what it is. It's a comic. It was more satire than anything. It's called Deal of the Century, and it's directed by William Friedkin, who's best known for directing The Exorcist. And if anyone's ever seen To Live or Die in L.A., he directed that. And of course, he directed the third one. I think we leave. Yeah, he directed the third Exorcist film, Exorcist 3: The Legion. And want to give a shout out, Mr. Kevin Lambert from Entertainment Headquarters happened to talk about that film and the various other films that were connected to it recently. So want to give that shout out. But he directed this film. It's basically talking about arms deals and how different companies, American and foreign, I mean foreign and domestic, sell their goods to kill. And it's like that's the primary the thing. It's like to just pretty much do sell what basically sell weapons, weapons of mass destruction and everything. And this particular movie deals with how, and it stars Chevy Chase, the late Gregory Hines, and Sigourney Weaver when she was smoking hot. I mean, she's still hot, but I mean, she was smoking hot. If you ever see this film, she's got some of the longest legs. I mean, it's like, wow, delicious. But anyway, besides that, I mean, not she, but they, well, yeah, she and Gregory Hines and Chevy Chase's characters, they deal with the arms race and try to sell certain things. And one of the things that they're trying to sell is this drone that is pilotless. It's pretty much done by remote control, and it doesn't need a pilot to fly it. I mean, you just need, you know, use a joystick and to whatever, you know. Well, here's the thing about this, and this is what leads up to this particular explosion. It happens early in the film. A company called Lockup. They're the ones behind the drone. They're the ones behind the particular plane they're trying to sell to, not just, you know, the different various particular branches of government. I mean, in terms of a military, but they may try to sell it to foreign, you know, adversaries too, which is sad because that's a realization. That's why I say this movie is satire, because it shows what you lead yourself to do something that's really, you know, what is the drawing line on this. You know? But anyway, during the test of the plane, you know, it starts to malfunction, or it's malfunctioning. And in this sense of where it malfunctions, it it does something to a certain part of the property that's Lockheed Lockup owned, and it's pretty much a, I guess you could say it's a, you know, oil or gas refinery tank or whatever. You know, but all I know is this is pretty much one of the, it's just one of those earlier explosions that goes back 40 years, and to me it still holds up today. So here we go, and like I say, it's pretty much quick and nasty, but if someone would say I like quick and nasty, but here we go. Here it is. Let me just play it one more time, because like I said, it is quick. All right, say now, from where you see it, you know, okay, from the point of view where the missile is shot, you know, that's pretty much done in camera and, you know, whatever. But the blowing up of that particular tank is miniature. You know, that's all miniature there. You know, that's but it was a large scale miniature. You know, and like I say, it was, like I say, when I first saw this film, this is back in, I think this is back in '84, because I didn't have yeah, I didn't have cable at the time. I It was back in '84 I saw it, and when I saw what this film was doing, you know, because this, like I say, it's an interesting film. You have to watch it. Deal of the Century, 1983, and it is, like I say, it, like I say, just blows shit up. You know what I mean? But there's some multitude of explosion, but that particular one I love the most out of that film, and it's crisp, it's beautiful, it's very robust, as you can tell, and it's it doesn't hold back. You know, it doesn't hold back in what it does. You know, and I love it for what it does. You know, blowing stuff up and seeing what it is. You know, so. But anyway, moving on. That was what was that? That was number. What was that number four? No, that was number eight. Okay, number eight. Okay, okay, we're on to number seven. So number seven is going to be an interesting one, because interesting in terms of, I did one here where I did one a while back for the second one where it's involving a Bond film, and Bond films, there have been enough explosions in Bond films that I can say are very memorable and very effective. And all I can tell you is that they have their own unique way of giving the audience what they need, which is like, oh, emphasize like this is something that's really, you know, catching your mindset. Well, with this one, and the predominant explosions that are done in this movie are practically done on this oil ship, which is not an oil ship. It's a base of operations for the villain in this movie, who's trying to start World War III and create a new underwater utopia. You know, so and he hijacks two of these submarines, which are from not the U.S., more the British and the U.K. Not the U.K. I'm sorry, the British and the Russians. I don't know why I said the UK and British are the same thing. Anyway, um, they hijacked it, and it's hidden inside of this the base operations in this tank, this ship. And I got to mention this. This is the movie that created the largest at the time, largest film studio in history. This is what's known as the double O 007 stage because it's one of the largest stages in the world. And this is all filmed of the set of these submarines and it's set inside of the ship itself, and it's just like it's brilliant. I believe it was Ken Adams who designed it, and had the designers build it and everything. It's lovely. It's built beautifully. It's makes it more epic. Really epic. So, as I mentioned before, Bond, being Bond, he had to do his Bonnian thing by trying to stop the bad guys from you know doing what they got to do, which is try to wipe out the human existence, and hopefully get away in time because while everything is exploding on this ship, um, the main ship the main submarine that he came in is locked up inside with it, and the doors that you know keep it closed are pretty much sealed them in. So they have to use torpedoes in order to blow it the fuck open. And this is, like I say, I just love how this explosion does when they shoot the submarine, they shoot the missile, the torpedo at this to blow the hull in order for it to get out. So this is the result of the submarine shooting this torpedo. And that is, like I say, that's like I say, it's just blowing the opening. It's like say, let me out, let me get the hell out of here. So that is a brilliant way of blowing something up, and that was done practically. Also, that was done all in camera, and that was all miniature. Believe it or not, that was done by late great model maker, miniature effects artist Derek Meddings, who was probably a genius ahead of his time. But the ship that he built, or him and his associates built, was like, if I'm not mistaken, like 60 over 60 feet long. I mean, this is how big this damn thing was: 60 feet long and weighed like 6 or 8 tons. That's one thing about back then, especially back then. They built things in order and it was a self-floating, model, and they actually took it to the Bahamas to film it because there was no, big enough water tanks to hold this. Now, maybe if they build them now, miniature of that size, they could probably take something, put it in a green screen and be able to, fake it and put in waves, whatever. But anyway, they did it old school, and they blew up shit back then more than you imagine at the time, And that was, like I say, that was all a miniature, and all that explosion was miniature, and it was just like, yeah. Now from the inside, that's the actual full set that was showing the torpedo going towards the door. But editing and everything works out beautifully, and that's why I say I love how, you know, things back then, I kind of took for granted, but now I look back and it's like, yeah, just sad that these things had to end, you know. Hey, but you had to go with the times. I'm just sad that some people try to not to incorporate different techniques together, CG and practical effects. But anyway, on to the another one, and we're up to number 6 here. Okay, so number 6, I'm gonna. This is pretty much an oldie but goodie, and this comes from probably one of my favorite superhero films. And I kind of did a superhero, countdown beginning of this year, and what was the beginning of the year? No, it was I'm sorry, at the tail end of last year. I'm sorry, at the end of it was like after Christmas, and pretty much all the films that I mentioned that I love for what it is, 30 of them, I feel like they still hold up, you know. And this particular one from this movie, which is 1978's Superman, and I'm not to get gripe on, James Gunn's Superman, but this one, Dick Donner, I think, did it right. I mean, he did it right. But anyway, in the midst of this film, this was so funny. There's not a many, because the most fascinating thing about this film is Christopher Reeve flying as Superman. But there are moments in the film where it's like there's chaotic and there's chaos and everything else. And in this moment here, especially at the tail end of the film, Lex Luthor has pretty much played by Gene Hackman. If anyone's ever seen the film, he's created a massive earthquake by using a nuclear missile to strike the fault line of California, and this causes where he's trying to make a half of the state fall into the water. So, but Superman stops him and everything. But in the midst of all this, there are many things happening where earthquakes they affect everything. And this moment here involves where we see Lois Lane, played by Margaret Kidder, where she stops at a gas station. Pretty much doesn't look like it looked like it's deserted, but it's pretty much showing that there's fuel going on still. And while the ground is shaking up, it dislodges certain things and whatever, and something sparks, and well, you can pretty much see what happens here. Yeah, that's I and I have to say, if I hadn't said it before, I'll say it again. I saw this film in back in '79 during Valentine's weekend, and I can remember it was cold. It was cold. Then of course I was 8 years old. Everything when you're 8 years old, things are cold. But then again, I think it was colder back then anyway. But anyway, getting off topic. When that moment came up, I was just like, oh, it's like I'm a kid, I mean, I didn't say, oh shit. I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm this guy. And my mom, who took me to see this, she pretty much tried. I mean, you try to explain the best way I understand, but I was like, why is that blowing up, But as I get older, I realize I understand how both physics and math works. You see how the awning falls on the station itself and hits the tanks. Something sparks up, and at least that's what we think. And you see that explosion just starts billowing up, and it just plumes into what it becomes. And that's an icon. Believe it or not, that's a more iconic shot than you might think it is, because it blows up pretty well. And that was all full size set. That was a full size set that they built out in California to blow that up. What exact part of California, I don't know, because most of the film takes place in California. And believe it or not, the film was pretty much filmed all around the world. Pretty much, they filmed it in Canada, they filmed it in, of course, in the UK, and they filmed it in parts of the United States. But they filmed it, the parts that need to be filmed that takes place, which is California. Here, they filmed it in California, and that was a set that they blew up in California. Maybe one day, if I ever get a chance, I don't know if I'll be living, but I wouldn't mind going out to some of the places where they built these sets and they did the things that they did to film to bring these iconic shots to life. So, but moving on, we're going to number 5, and we are here on number 5, which is this one. And this is what's so interesting. This is coming from a film that also I saw with my mom in the theater. It's 1991's Thelma and Louise, starring Susan Sarandon and Gina Davis. And well, if you already know about the film, you already know what goes on and how it entails what leads to whatever. A leads to B leads to C. So, but basically, they're on the run, and in the midst of all this, they discover certain things about themselves, about who they are, and whatever they were before, they're no longer that. They pretty much have, gone. What's the saying goes? The point of no return. So, in the midst of this, they realize, like, okay, if this is how people see us, perceives us, we're not going to take it anymore. Kind of like Twisted Sisters, we're not going to take it, kind of moment. So during this, they encountered this particular truck driver, and all through a while, eh, he is such a, well, he's pretty much such a, what he is, slime, crud, all these things, giving very, you know, discussing in the windows to these ladies while on the road. And these women haven't had enough of this guy. And he's driving a tanker truck. So they pull over. They feel like, well, maybe we're gonna, he think he's gonna get some. And he find out he's married, which no surprise there. But during this, they get out the car. Well, they didn't get out the car because it's a convertible. They tell him, you're going to apologize for all that crudeness that you've done. Because, like I say, they've had enough of all this. And, he say, forget you, or F you. And during this, Susan Sarandon's character, well, I think, no, Louise, which is Susan Sarandon's character, she starts shooting at his truck by shooting the tires and everything. And the guy said, "Oh, you bitch," and she pretty much tells Thelma, it's like, I don't think he's going to apologize. And well, they do him a good service by doing this. Yeah, I think that was well deserved. I mean, that's something that you got to realize. Like when you push somebody to the edge, you got to expect something coming back from you. That old domino effect. Well, his dominoes fell, and his shit went the bloom with the boom, boom, boom. You know. So that was a moment in time where the ladies just had enough. They just had enough, you know. And this movie came out at a time where women's, and it's not like today, because this is where we realize that, we men can be slime, but nowadays it's almost like a reversal. It's like the women have become what the men were. Sad, but that's crazy. But yeah, the movie is it's a 1991 film that's directed by Ridley Scott, and like I say, it's a pretty decent film. It's a pretty decent film. It won an Oscar for best original screenplay, which is no surprise because the writing in there is pretty good. And I should say it stars an um, early performance of one particular superstar now, which is Brad Pitt. I just want to throw that in there. But the truck explosion itself was a full size truck that they took and loaded it up with, gasoline and everything. And as you can see, they shot it from a certain point of view where the Thelma and Louise are sitting, blew it up. But as you also saw, they got a high point where you see it from a high point where it blows up pretty well, you know. And it's a beautiful shot. I love it. It's one of those moments that just sticks in your mind. You never forget it, you know. But on to the next one, which is another, believe it or not, another helicopter explosion. But it's one that's not necessarily like well, in a way, it's kind of is, which is it's stationary, but this one is a cause and effect, the reason why it happens. And this is coming from 1993's Cliffhanger, which is directed by Rennie Harlin and stars, if anyone ever doesn't know, Mr. Sylvester Stallone, Rocky Rambo himself. And it stars what's his name? Oh my God, I'm forgetting. I'm getting a brain fart. Just think, he's such he's a brilliant actor. Oh my God, I'm getting a brain fart. This is ridiculous, man. How am I getting a brain fart right now? This is so fucking stupid. It's the John Lithgow. Yeah, John Lithgow. I'm sorry, John Lithgow. Hold up. So I'm making an ass out of myself right now, and I'm saying things that I shouldn't say. Um, yeah, oh shit, my God. Oh yes, Mr. John Lithgow. Okay, he plays a villain, and oh my Lord, I'm really getting old. But anyway, John Lithgow. He plays a villain that's trying to steal $100 million of currency from the United States Treasury, and it's being flown on that was flown on a plane. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. This is at the tail end of the film where Sylvester Stallone's character gets the drop on him, literally, and they're in a helicopter that was a rescue helicopter that John Lithgow's character commandeers. But during this time, Sylvester Stallone's character pretty much dismantles it and has it crash against the rocks, and it's just hanging there by a wire and a ladder and everything else, and it's slowly falling down because of his weight and everything. And Sylvester Stallone and John Lithgow have a fight on this thing. It's pretty much how action pictures were, especially in the late 80s, mid 80s, late 80s, early 90s, mid 90s. And that's how they were. The bad guy gets the good guy gets the bad guy, and the bad guy goes out in a blaze of glory. Well, the bad guy definitely goes out in a blaze of glory, and this is no exception here. As Sylvester Stallone's character defeats and kicks him into the hull of the helicopter, the helicopter falls, and what happens is this. Hold up, let me play that again because that's an excellent example of, like I say, you want to blow something up and blow it up real good. There you go. And believe me, I mean, I love that. I mean, that shows that the bad guy gets his comeuppance, and you get a good ending to a pretty decent film. Because Cliffhanger, is one of those films that I saw in the theater, but when you see it on the widescreen, it's more robust, I have to say. But the thing about that explosion is that was all miniature. That was all done in mini and when it's done in camera, but it was all miniature. And the thing about that is the first half of that explosion, when it blows up, that was the pretty much the explosion of the helicopter, just the hull and everything else. But they saw like we need a little bit more, and just in a quick second, it flicks on just like boom, like that. So they did another explosion in the same spot, and well, there you go. And that's why I say it's so legendary. So that's two helicopters we've done in this particular stream talking about, and like I say, they're all well done, definitely well done. So on to number 3. I can't believe we're at number 3 already. And I'm going to talk about this other one, which is crazy because this one I hadn't seen this film in a while. But what's amazing about it is that the film is one of those sleeper hits that was directed by Catherine Bigelow. And if you don't know who Catherine Bigelow is, she's a director. She's directed several things like this one here. She directed 030 Dark. She's directed The Hurt Locker, and believe it or not, she directed Point Break. Very good film, and various other films. That's to where she's done pretty good work. And just side note, she used to be married to James Cameron, but we won't hold that against her. but that being said, this is a film that she directed and I believe co-wrote, which is Near Dark, which is a brilliant, brilliant, example of taking vampirism and giving it more. It has its own it has its own hypothesis what vampirism is and whatever, but at the same time it's showing how people use vampirism, or just how they become vampires, interact with one another. And these people that are vampires, which is like Lance Hendricks, the late great Billy. Oh my God, I'm getting another breath. Bill Paxton. Bill Paxton. I'm saying Billy, but it's Bill Paxton. And oh my God, basically, some of the people from Aliens are in the cast. That's what's so crazy. So I guess that's the reason why I guess at the time when Catherine Bigelow was married to James Cameron, she had some asked, can I borrow some of these characters? I mean, these actors in this film. Well, anyway, this is a sleeper hit, and it's a vampire movie, and whatever. So, the character that, and I need to look up his name real quick before I go any further. I don't want to say anything. Okay, the actor, not Bill Paxton, and I also mentioned Jeanette Goldstein. She's in there. Yeah, Adrian Pastar. I guess that's his name. Pastar. Asrin. Let's see. Adrian Pastar. I'll just say Adrian. Okay. His character, he gets turned into a vampire, but he gets turned back into human. See, this is why I say certain aspects of vampirism gets told in a certain way. You can take it how you want. You know, uh, sunlight still works, but as far as holy water, we don't really know. They never deal deep into that stuff. So anyway, going into to the movie, he gets turned back into a human, and he tries to rescue Robin. Not Robin. Is it Robin Wright? Hold up. I'm sure. I think it's Robin. Yeah, no, Jenny Wright. I'm sorry, Jenny Wright. Jenny Wright's character, who's was a vampire, who's still a vampire, but he tries to rescue her. And during all this, they he tries to rescue her from the clutches of Lex Henderson's character and whatnot. And during this time, certain things go down, and Adrian and Bill's character have a powwow. And during this time, what happens is that Adrian climbs into on this truck, and he's telling him, he's trying to get away from Bill Paxton because he's crazy. He's crazy. He's really crazy, you know. And he gets him, he gets in the truck, and Paxton, Bill Paxton's character shoots this guy that's driving the truck in the head, and Adrian's character, say, well, let me drive it, he rams right into Bill Paxton's character. But all it did to Bill Paxton is kind of bloody him up, kind of tear part of his face off, and he starts ripping into the engine of the truck. So, with all that going on, Adrian's character jackknifes the truck, and somehow, some way, the truck explodes. And well, this is the result of that. Let me play that one more time. Now, I would tell you something right now. I remember when I saw this film, and like I say, this was like late 80s because this movie came out in 87. I remember when I saw this film, and I'm just kind of like, oh, that's a lot of stuff going on for a vampire movie, but that shows how effective. And it was a low budget film. I think it was like maybe $2 million max, something like that. But they pulled it off. And that was a full-size truck that they blew up. Just like in Thelma and Louise, that was a full-size truck. This was a full-size truck too. This is what I was talking about, how they use practical stuff, use stuff that they don't have, blow it up, and they blow it up real good, blow it up real good, That's like, damn, that's how you do things, you blow shit up and make sure that it blows up very nicely. So that was number 3. Now we're in the stretch of number 1 and number 2. So coming in number 2, this is another explosion that comes from Cliffhanger. You get the price of you get 2 for the price of 1. And the interesting thing is, I thought I had done this particular explosion before, but it turns out I didn't. And this is what I was talking about when I mentioned something about I was getting ahead of myself, that we blow up John Lithgow's character, hijacks. He's in this A-Star, about to hijack this money that's 100 mil from this DC-8 cargo plane that's carrying the money. Well, during this time, they try to transfer the money in some way where it can, transfer over to the other plane and whatever. The bad guys set a bomb on it so it won't be no traceable evidence of a hijacking. If they think the money went down in the storm. Well, during this time, there's people on the plane that there's watching this, guarding the money. And one of the guys, Rex Lynn's character, who's portraying the Secret Service, shoots his comrades and he's the one that sets the bomb. And one of the guys was a undercover agent that gets shot, and they think he's for dead, but it turns out he was just, knocked unconscious or whatever. So in the midst of this, you know, they figure like, okay, they got the money, it's about to transfer. They ducked the plane because they lost the pilot that was flying the plane. He was one of the guys that was involved with the hijack. He falls out, but they was able to get the money where it can fly over and everything. But the guy that they shot that thought for dead, he has an Uzi and he starts shooting the fuck out of that A-10, like bang, you say, if I'm going down, I'm going to take your ass with me, So all in all this is going on. All this is whatever, and in the midst of all this, there's one key thing that's going on that the guys who are hijacking know, but the guy who's shooting does not, and that's the bomb. And this is what happens. Oh Lord, dude. I mean, it's funny because you go through so much so much trials and tribulations to try to do a job to make sure that it goes well, and hopefully it turns out to be the best thing that you've done. But in terms of all that, you see that you fucked up, because you didn't add all the variables up, and the dude shooting is like, yeah, he dies, but you know what? He got the last laugh in a sense. Now that explosion was a full size. When I say full size model, okay, it was a miniature that was built by, and I don't think too many people know this. Maybe some of my UK fellows might know. Was done by another, which is, I mentioned Derek Minnings. This was built by, and I think, this is built by John Richardson, who is phenomenal in his miniature work. I mean, if you've seen any of his films, or I want to say some of his work, you've probably seen a few of the Bond films. You've probably seen him in various other films where he blows stuff up, or just he pretty much he's an on set miniature. I mean, not miniature, but on set physical effects supervisor, but miniatures is his number one bread and butter. And him and his crew built that, blew it up, and it's beautiful. It's wonderful, and I can't say enough about it. It's like I say, if you ever see it on the big screen, trust me, it's worth it. It's definitely worth it. But anyway, that was Cliffhanger. That was number 2, and on to the number 1, one of the holiest of holies, And I have to say that this one, it's kind of funny, This was kind of ironic. I've never done one before from any of the, Star Wars films, and this is coming from a Star Wars film. But this number 1, I think, has to be up there. And for some reason, out of all the original 3 explosions, and that's including the Death Star, that's including some other things in Empire Strikes Back. And Empire Strikes Back is my favorite of the Star Wars film. This explosion, which is from Return of the Jedi, is my favorite. And this moment here actually takes place on Tatooine, and it takes place where Luke pretty much rescues Han and Leia from the depths of Jabba the Hutt, and he's on his sand barge, and he's rescuing them. He rescuing CPO, R2D2, and Arrow, and Lando Calrissian is there too to help out, and everything. So, and of course Chewbacca is there, to get rescued. So Luke is doing his Jedi thing, with the lightsaber. He's doing all that stuff. So pretty much to get away, well, she get away, but to pretty much make sure that there's no so-called evidence or whatever with the barge, he has Leia aim the main guns at the center of the deck, and while they leave, he sets it off by shooting into the deck, and it sets off multiple explosions. And as they get ready to leave on a skid, leave away, the barge blows up in a brilliant way, to which I can only just say this is just fanboy stuff right here. So yeah, that is an explosion that I feel that is warrant number one, because it's beautiful. It's shows how the characters who are in certain desperate need get away in time, and funny thing is, this is only one of the few explosions that's in this film, but this is one of my favorites, and that was all done in miniature. That's a model of the set, model of the barge, everything. And it was done by when they were doing physical models at ILM, which is Industrial Light and Magic. And like I say, that was just a brilliant, brilliant explosion. I feel, and the funny thing is, this was so rad about this. This shows how what the eyes and ears believes, the mind will what the eyes and ears believe, or minds me of what the eyes will see, the mind will believe. Well, I believe that was the full size set of the barge that they built in Arizona for this movie, because remember that they actually built a full size set of the barge in in the United States, in Arizona, for the fight scenes and everything. And I believe that was an actual. They actually will say, well, they don't need that they don't need that the set anymore, so they just blow it up. Makes sense. No, that was a whole ass miniature that you saw. I mean, the model was no bigger than maybe 2-3 feet, something like that. But slow down the camera, slow the explosion down, and it's more massive than you think it is. And they did a wonderful, excellent job with that. So, and that was my number one. That was my number one favorite movie explosion. And like I say, hopefully I enjoyed that. Hopefully it's fun for me and got me back on this horse doing this, because this was something that I came out of the blue wanted to do, because after all that's been going on in my life these past 2 months, and this is the last day of this month too. This is the last day of February. All that's been going on, it's like it's good to get back on tread with things, which I'm loving it. So that's pretty much it. Now, what I got coming up, believe it or not, tomorrow I will be with my friend, Mr. Sci-Fi Century, and we're going to be discussing a film that he wants to talk about, which, believe it or not, I haven't really seen, but I thought I saw, but I actually haven't, which is Akira Kurosawa's Throne of Blood. And we're going to kind of be discussing it in detail. I don't know how long. I got a feeling we're going to be doing 3 hours, to be honest with you. I really do believe it will. But if it's going to be recording, it's not going to be live. It's going to be recording. And later next Saturday, I will hopefully, which I know I will be teaming up with Mr. Kevin Lambert on his channel. We're going to be discussing film that's probably not talked about much called Miss 45. And we're going to have a discussion about that. And I'll go ahead and say later this next month in March, I'm going to be discussing. In fact, let me bring it up because ain't no sense me. The yes, next month I will be. Yes, I will be. Yes, sometime at the end of the month, I'm going to be discussing a thing that where I'm going to be talking about compositions or music from movies, and we're going to be talking about the composers. And one of the composers we're going to be talking about is Akira Kofube, and we're going to be talking about five of the top ones. I mean, not five, but 10 of hopefully we'll have. Hopefully, I'll have other ones with me where we're going to discuss, their favorite top 10 of his scores that he's ever done. And along there, that following week, I'm going to be in a discussion hopefully with Mr. DJ Anubis, where we're going to be discussing 2007's Grindhouse, which I think that's a very underrated film, I feel. But also later that week, I will be with Kevin Lambert and hopefully some others, where we're going to be discussing the 70th anniversary of a famous film, sci-fi film, Forbidden Planet, which I feel is something that really needs to be talked about because it's a classic. I think it's one of those front runners that got a lot of other sci-fi films that we see now to where it is today, and that's next month. That's the following intel end of next month. So, but that's pretty much it, people. I think we've come to the end of the road here. Although we've come to the end of the road. Okay. I'm gonna get copyrighted there. Hopefully I don't get copyright period with certain things. But this has been fun. This has been fun. It's been enjoyable, and I hope y'all enjoyed watching this. And like anything else, as I've always closed out on my streams and everything else, do on video. And I can say it now with the sincerity. And I've been saying it with serious, but I've been so wrapped up with it. I can say it now with a little bit more joy, which is y'all take care. Y'all please be patient, like I have. And always keep the film legacy alive. Peace out now.